begin with Satinder. See that, how do you see the market right now in the pet food industry? And what is your sense? How is it going to grow? And over 9 years of experience, so many years of experience in pet food industry, how has grown in this industry?
Thanks, Binoy. I think the tone has been set by... The potential is immense. We have not even scratched the surface. And it's not only about, what we see today. There are two thoughts which comes in my mind. The one is, the India, what we see today, is just at a beginning of a tipping point, not even at a tipping point. And we need to all realize that we need a lot of purposeful initiatives to give it a shape. And the potential is immense. Just to give you some data that India is the 5th largest pet population, if I only consider dogs and cats, 5th largest in the world. And our calorie conversion levels are, maybe way below than any other comparable pet population country, even in emerging side of the economy, less than 5%, and overall. So this is one aspect. The second, actually, again, Sharad also touched that, and we all need to believe very strongly in this, that our journey will not be same as the Western world. Whatever Western world has seen in 50, 70, 100 years, we will definitely not take that long years to reach to a certain point. So we are on a beginning of a tipping point. We have not reached a tipping point, but then from tipping point to a certain very, very critical threshold, we will not take 25, 30 years. It will happen very fast. The point is that we need to continue to understand that what are the breeding grounds which we need to prepare. Or what are the foundations which we need to think about? Because the building will be as big as the foundations are. So I think we are in a stage where one side would get tempted to start building, but I think on one side we need to be thinking about that, how do we ensure that the foundations are right?
Great. Thank you. I think I'll go to Bharat now. And Bharat, what is your take on, as an entrepreneur, right? You started with the importing of products, then you had done extensive work with Econova and IAMS, and now you're doing other very premium brands in India. How do you see, as an entrepreneur, not as a person who is there to kind of working for the company, but you are an entrepreneur. You have paved your way in many ways, in many places, right? So how do you see this journey and the marketing pet food in India?
So I think what entrepreneurs can do in this pet industry when they start in is to start small and try to reach to important stakeholders that are there in the pet industry. And you might not be able to reach to everybody because you don't have that kind of team, or you don't have that kind of breadth and length. But from your city or near in your state, if you could reach to some important stakeholders, speak to them, try to make your product reach them and believe in the product that you're trying to sell, and then slowly start from there. And as you start to build, and the people who will sell your product, who are the main stake guys, the vets, the store owners, the breeders, will then help to build your brand. So it is a long process. Yes, digital has come into play now, and few years back we did not have means to reach to a lot of audience. Now through digital we have a lot of means to reach to a lot of audience, but then you have to spend also a lot of money there. So as a small entrepreneur, or as when you start, you don't have that kind of money to spend. So I think it is a slow start for first few years, and then once you start to catch pace, you can just grow 3-5x.
Great, thank you. I think I'll come to Dr. Shashank. Doctor, you are a vet and as well as been in the pet food industry for a long time, right? So tell us from your perspective as a vet and as a professional, by the marketing this brand in India and abroad, how has been your journey, and what do you see the difference since you started your career to now?
So thanks first of all, introducing me as a veterinarian, first of all. So which I always privileged to be actually. As we are talking in the context of pet industry, I always believe that vets are sitting at the pyramid of the whole system, right? What the difference, what Satinder was saying about the West and the Indian market is going to differentiate is the influencers marketing. If I don't mean by influencer like we do endorse sort of celebs, but the influence what breeders and vets are doing right now. So adopting which kind of pet, the journey has to become shorter. What Western countries have taken more than 70, 80 years or 60 years. If it has to become 20 years for us, the major role has come from breeders and vets has to come in. What knowledge is passed out, which pet I am going to adopt, which pet requires what kind of food, which pet requires what kind of services is very, very going to be critical for the shortening or hitting the tipping point. We see for India as an economy, digital, what Bharat has said, is something we are on the positive sides compared to any Asian country or any Western country. Aging, we all have been talking about disposable income, double income, no kids and all. But if you see in terms of perspective, India has been on the positive side of many things. The per capita income of the Indians are going to double in another 2 to 3 years or 4 years. Whatever government, I may sound some pro-government, but the steps taken, the reforms brought in the market has helped us to get into that. If you see dog adoption or having a pet was always like a upper layer of the cream layer of the society, the cream layer is going to multiply by 5 times in next 4 to 5 years. So there is a drive to have a pet. The direction what a vet or a breeder can give is very, very critical to shorten the tipping point hitting place.
Great. Thank you, Shashank, for your the insight on that. I think I'm going back to Satinder. You see, after 2019, when the COVID hit, and the jump in the industry has been unprecedented, right? So, do you think this calorie conversion or the adoption of packaged food being increased during that time? Obviously, there was raw materials were, in the short supply, but the chicken or the rice, or they didn't cook and they couldn't cook and so on. Now, that trend, is it going to go further or is it going to go little reverse and then go forward? What do you see that?
So there are the two parts of the question. One is that pet population, pet acquisition, and second is, the pet food consumption. I'll address both of these separately. So as far as pet acquisition or, having a pet in a family is concerned, when we were in a captive situation, the kids, there was nothing to do at homes in lockdown. Obviously, we fall back to our favorite creatures for getting that love and, having a great time at home. Once these lockdowns are over, the people are going back and getting busy in their normal life. The pet acquisition speed may come down a bit. But what happens when we see only 2 pets in our society, the inclination is less. If we already see 10 pets in a society, the other person, next person will also be inclined to get that pet. So it will not come back to the previous levels. It will slow down from the lockdown levels or the COVID piece, but not. It will still be at a growth space. Now, when it comes to pet food or a calorie conversion piece. There are various profiles of pet owners. One profile is who are second or third generation of pet owners, and they may have a very own way of thinking, and they know they are keeping it for second or third time, and there's stronger beliefs in keeping the pet in a certain manner. But if we see in last 2-3 years, 5 years, or 2 years particularly, most of the pet owners are millennials or the working couples or the people who are keeping the pet for the first time, and most of them are also very influenced by the digital ways of getting information or consuming information. And there the calorie conversion in this segment, because they are also prone to get food from outside for themselves, is way higher. higher than what we can imagine. It's more than 50% calorie conversion in the recent acquired pet parents. So if this trend continues, this is what I'm coming back to my previous point, that if this trend continues, the calorie conversion we will see a absolutely a huge spike in 3, 4, 5 years from now.
Very good. Yeah, please, doctor.
See, the calorie conversion, we have always been looking at a factor like how many pets are in the 100 houses and how many pets are eating a packaged diet or from where they are drawing the energy. What the levels of conversion now, 50% or 60% we're talking about, depends largely on how the longer the duration the pet remains on that packaged diet. We have seen people coming in, buying food, packaged food, and then after 8-9 months of the age of the puppy, again going back to, because they have seen the growth of the puppy, it's completely grown now, why should I spend on that? In that context, if we want to retain that 50% conversion, 40% conversion, the kind of product offerings as a companies we do, the kind of understanding of the consumer we have, will play a very, very crucial role. And then obviously the pillars of the industry like vets, breeders, pet shops, channel partners, digital, all will have an immense impact to keep these pet parents who started on a packet food has a regular visit to a website or a pet store or a clinic to buy a packaged and keep rotating so that's consume completely the total life cycle value of a customer for us. What happens, most of the markets, people start with the packaged food, another 3-4 months they're out of the category, not visiting to a clinic also. Even many cases, a lot of vets have seen the vaccinations are dropped out. So that kind of, if we are able to engage them, understanding the profile of the customer, then conversion will stay longer on a higher side, which is good for any industry actually.
So you're saying that the calorie conversion, once it happens and the certain age the pet reaches, then the calorie conversion seems to be coming down.
Exactly,
right?
that happens.
So now, but there is a certain the surge which after COVID there was a the consumption of the packaged food has risen. From your experience and from your company's perspective, the demand is still on, as Satinder said, it has come down a little bit, but is that demand still on? Do you see that in your sales report?
Yeah, exactly. If you see the category wise, the premium segment has started taking a little bit of hit, but the economy is doing very strong. That's why I think the right profiling of the customer, understanding of the consumer, at what price point I'm offering the product. See, MRP cannot be a just signatory, right? It has to be the end of the day. If you go to Amazon or anywhere, MRP is something and the product pricing is something, right? So the customer sees at what he's paying out. That is the real price. You are looking at a value of the product. So if you want to retain that kind of what happened in last 2 years, we need to understand. That's why economy has no hit, but premium has a hit, we all know. This year, because of maybe the puppies are not coming. So if puppies are coming, they're feeding the first 6 months very good, spending, then the spendings are going down. It can be for accessories, it can be for food as well or supplement as well. But that normal has been the trend that after a year or so, the dog or the pet is treated, it has gained the right weight or right size, maybe that nutrition is not required. Where we as industry has to understand and make the offerings very, very understanding at the phase. What is the offering we are, from the first year I'm doing, what is the offering for the next? If you see, most of us don't sell senior diets, right? The reason being, the pet owners are not worried about it or we're not educating them. So if you see So if you see the customer, pet parents in Bombay and compare them with somebody in Chhattisgarh or Bihar, the roles become very different and different for us as well.
Absolutely. I think I'll go to the Bharat to ask you, Bharat, this question that how difficult and different it is to market a premium product, premium pet food or super premium, than the economic range, for example, because profile is different. How you position, how you showcase your product or the eyeball your product to the consumer.
Super premium, I feel, for a smaller company is easier to sell than a low cost, because when you are trying to sell any product that is low cost, you are trying to fight on price, and when you're trying to fight on price, you have to fight the big giants like Drools and Mars, which is not very, very easy because their scale of economics is very huge. So you cannot really fight there because the amount of advertisements and the points of sale that they have is so much that when the client sees the ad, he goes to the next door bread shop or the egg shop and he sees the product and he's buying it. So you cannot really fight there. I think for a small entrepreneur or a smaller firm, I think on the top layer is the best way to play, because there you have to find a small count of clients. You don't need a lot of clients, but you can still earn from that, and you can still sell a better product in that way.
Great. I think I'll come back to something like, you have something to add?
Right. So just on building on,
Yeah,
the
please.
differentiation between the economy and premium and all that stuff. So how I see this, it doesn't start with premium or economy. It starts with cat and dog. End of the day, if we are trying to solve a problem for cat and dog, and if that problem is solved, the pet owner will pay the price. So if the problem is solved at a lower price, the pet owner is happy to pay the lower price. If the problem is not solved at a certain price, and the price is higher because there is a solution which requires more investment in that, the pet owner will pay that price. So I think we should, rather over complexifying the situation, we should keep cats and dogs at the center of what we see and try to solve the problem of cats and dogs. And rest, premium, super premium, everybody has a role to play, and everybody has a market, and everybody has a pie to take. You solve the problem, you take the money.
Yeah, I think you said very correctly, because here, I remember my interaction with my doctor. So he's a young doctor, nephrology, and I was talking to him. He's got 2 pets. And he was telling me that his pet stopped eating one particular food he was feeding. And I think vet told him that you feed something else. And he went and bought a food, and he said it's very, very expensive. And I saw, when I opened it, it saw the same, similar, kibble. I was wondering whether my pet will eat or not. And he said, he ate. And he's fine. I mean, he's been eating for the last 2-3 months. So I said, no, there is a difference, right? So you always kind of come back to me and saying, should I do this? Should I do that? I said, I think best advice you get from the veterinarians or the breeders, not me. I can only tell you that what is available in the market, right? I cannot comment on that. Right. Now, another thing, in the market, in the industry is, we face this a lot of problem when we go internationally is, ma'am has spoken to in a couple of forums. They ask, how big is the industry? What is the growth rate, right? So if you go by Euromonitor, it's very conservative figures they tell you. There are others, bona fide research, and other people, and the people in the company, in our ecosystem, who are startups, they have their own extrapolations and the numbers to come. According to you, what is the growth percentage of Indian pet care industry? Is it 25, it is 30, it is 40, what is it?
The point is that how do you define? Are you defining pet food? Are you defining pet care?
Pet care as a whole.
Yeah, so in pet care, what do you take as a pet care? Are you taking the veterinary care? Are you taking the... So, it depends that how do we see the market. So, any pie will have a different delta, and you make the pie different and the delta would be different. Maybe, the food industry is in somewhere $500 million and going towards $1 billion if you add all the peripheral service parts and the veterinary care and everything. And the growth, again, so if I tell you that what happens in FMCG industries or some of the industries like car, automobile, or some of the more developed and more mature industries, the AC Nielsen and some of the this kind of data is absolutely available, and you can get the data from very researched sources. We feel that instead of spending crores on getting this data, let's invest that in building this industry bigger. So, the growth is also, I think, last 10 years, it's about, nothing short of 20%. And moving forward, next 2 decades, I don't see any change in that trajectory. So, about 15-20%, more than 20% in certain segments. But overall, 15 to 20%, it will grow for sure.
Thank you. I think let me come back to now the question of educating pet parents, right? Even the keynote address, Mr. Sharma emphasized about educating pet parents. And I think when we go to the veterinarians also, you see, the kind of rush a veterinarian gets is also huge. He may not have time to kind of educate pet parents on a regular basis, right? Because it's a sheer lack of time. We as a pet industry and a companies, how are we educating pet parents? Because it's just not having a pet, bringing a pet in, but also looking after well and not abandoning them. Because when we start abandoning the pets, then the bad name comes to the industry. So how are we doing that? I may start with you, Satinder, then I'll come.
Yeah, sure. I think this is a real challenge. Whatever we claim, the proof of the pudding is that how much pet owners really know how to keep a pet in a good manner, and do they really know about the nutrition part of it. I think there's a lot more investment and a lot more efforts which are required, and it needs to be done in a cohesive manner. I think we are very grateful to the partnerships which we had from veterinarians, from breeders, and even from trade. Everybody sees definitely a point and value that the awareness is end of the day is a game changer. This is the foundation which I was talking at the start. Have we done enough? I think so far the industry is at a certain level. Definitely some work has happened for sure, but I don't think it's enough. It requires much more investment because what will happen, the pet food will continue to sell, and as Sharad also said in the start, that people will have some kind of lack of awareness, lack of knowledge, and some of the trends and some of the patterns will fix in that direction, and then it will be very difficult to reverse when the markets get mature. I'll give you one small example. There is a tendency of certain section of influencers to feed puppy food to adult because they feel that there is a better result. Now, from a nutrition point of view, it doesn't make sense. Now, it is already well established. Think from a cat and dog point of view. Think from a science point of view. It may look fluffy, the animal may look fluffy, but then is it right nutrition or not? So I think there is a lot more effort and investment and resources needs to be deployed there. And this is the most fundamental part of building this industry as big as we want. But I think awareness, education is something which we all should focus on for next 15, 20 years at least.
Right, thank you. I think, doctor, besides, I've seen a lot of pet food donating pet foods to the stray dogs and the other, initiatives done by the NGOs. Can they also be the ways that the pet food companies, because I'm saying pet food because they are the biggest money churner, it's the investment, right? So can they also be the ways that pet food companies come together and lend some money in order to facilitate some, shelters? Because I know a lot of shelters are overflowing, right? They are not looked after well because sheer numbers is so great, right? Is overwhelming numbers. So can that something happen besides donating pet food?
Certainly, there's no doubt about it, and it's a moral responsibility of everybody sitting in this room for us to do this. A lot of work happening, no doubt. Be it companies like everybody from Royal Canin, Mars, everybody's doing this kind of work towards NGOs. On the education part, again, this one problem which we all see is about the strays and all. The education has to play a very, very major role. What Satinder said very rightly, education is important, but what role we all are playing, that is also very clear. I still remember, I think Dr. Swali is in the room, so I came to his clinic for a visit and I saw 10% extra charge on telephone consultancy or Google something he wrote, the sticker was there. So maybe he's making money out of that, but that's very important to understand what I am approaching to a vet to understand from. So if he has a role to play to provide a very good vet service, that role clarity has to be there as a pet parent. If NGO has a role to play about the strays, what role other pillars are going to work around? What role a breeder has to play? So today I think we all are doing multiple things, and that's the pet parent is not very clear whom should I reach out so that my return on productivity is much better actually. Similarly on NGOs, we see that the responsibility only lies for NGOs because they are, and the image of NGOs we all know in India how it has been, right? So same happens with the pet NGOs as well. But it's a responsibility for all of us. Everybody is doing in bits, but if we come as a strong group together, I think can a huge impact can be created.
Bharat, on the education and the part of, kind of helping to raise the standard of the...
I think there are two things that I would want to stress. Most of the things they have said. What Sharad sir said in the last is that the balance of the people who are here just to earn and the balance of the people who really love what they are doing has to be there. And I think that is the most important key. And if there are more people who love the animals who are there in the pet industry, definitely the education part will come. Also, the new people that are coming in, the new age people from the IT industry, from the people who are from the dog training industry, a lot of new people who are into pet grooming, the young ones, as and when they come in, the young blood, and they up the game. If they keep trying to up their game, we all have to match that, and that itself will pull the whole pet industry up. So I think these are my two takes on that how the education will go ahead.